Welcome guys to John's Football Channel. I hope you're doing well today. Welcome to a brand new video. This is our post review to Chelsea 0, Juventus 1. Let's get into this post review. Let's look at the teams. Starting off with Juventus. Obviously Juventus was Girona in goal, Kelly and Garatti as the centre backs, Silic as the left back, and then Kalu as the right. If we look in the midfield, they went with Douglas Luiz. They went Locati as next to him, and ahead of them they went with Borga, Metti, and Capiasso on in the midfield ahead of the CDMs, and then when Milik up front. If we take a look at Chelsea, they obviously went with Sanchez in goal, Palestra on the right, Fofana and Tosin in the centre backs, Gerard Halto as the left back. In the midfield, we went with Quenda, Caicedo, Azul, and then we went with Gittins on the left hand side. Ahead of them, we went with Welbeck and João Pedro. Nice to see that João Pedro and Danny Welbeck are playing ahead with each other. It was interesting to see how they were gonna play. So when we saw the lineups, but as we get into it, I think João Pedro wasn't really necessarily used to playing as a cam, especially while having while being playing for such a long time as a striker. I mean, it's difficult to lose those elements of being up front, and I think that at some times they'll end up getting each other's way. There was that one time when there was a cross coming into the box, Danny Welbeck goes for the header as well as João Pedro, and I think they just end up getting each other's way for that goal, and I think that's hence why nothing came from that opportunity. Decent lineup, you could say. If we actually think. I think Caicedo did a very, very good job in the midfield. He was able to tidy up at times. He was able to do his normal routine. He was able to supply João Pedro at times, the likes of Palestra as well, from times, and try to get us on the counter-attack. So very, very good to see from Caicedo. You could see that obviously he's a Premier League player. He's calm, he's composed, he's neat, he's tidy. With Nico Kozuli, I think he was... Obviously, he's a youngster. He's very. I think the way I saw him playing against Juventus today, he was very, very quiet. He was very. I think you could use the word as shy. I think he didn't want to get into people's way. He didn't want to make a mistake. So yes, it's gonna take some time. It's gonna take some time for him to get into stride and actually get the confidence going for him to actually ask for the ball. I think that's the one thing he didn't do. And I think hence why it kind of hindered the team a bit. I think if I looked at the game, I think we only saw Caicedo boss in the midfield. It looked like Caicedo was the only player in the midfield and helping out the team. And I think that's where we actually end up losing this game. I think we didn't look like we actually had a cam to actually supply the likes of João Pedro or Danny Welbeck, or in the second half when we brought on some other substitutes, the likes of Delap and Jackson, we didn't actually have someone to say, okay, run with it and actually supply those balls to the strikers. I think that's where we didn't have a complete spine, and I think that's the way the spine actually was torn. But if we look at the players individually, I think Sanchez, very, very poor game. I mean, you would think, yes, it's very difficult and very easy to say that, coming into a new season, I'm expecting a different level, a better level than what you were last season. But I am hoping that Sanchez does look at his mistakes from previous seasons and actually say, okay, I can do this a bit better. Let me try and be a bit better player. But the way he plays, it just doesn't look like he cares at all. There was times where we would be under pressure. We play it to Sanchez, and he would just bottle up and put it up in the midfield and make it 50-50 for Juventus or for Chelsea to actually win the ball. And I think that's not the type of goalkeeper you would need in a team. I mean, there was times where there was an opportunity to play it on the other flank and actually rotate the ball and keep the ball possession in Chelsea's possession. And clearly, he didn't care. I think he was more scared as well, as saying, I don't want this ball anywhere near the defense and anywhere near me. And I think that's not the type of goalkeeper that can be playing for Chelsea at this football club. That's, I think, definitely Sanchez needs to be sold. If we look at also for Tosin, for example, Tosin, again, there was a time where I could see that he was trying to make a pass, and that pass went terribly wrong. But I mean, you have to get those balls right, and I think, I mean, your experience, your caliber that you should be having, clearly is not there, and hence why he's up for grabs, and we want him to sell him. If you look at Kittens also played well. I think Kittens he did a better job than recent times. I think he's trying to get rid of the criticism against him, and I think hopefully he's able to do so and actually able to do a job going into this next season. Hopefully he does get a chance. It's going to be difficult to have that chance, knowing that Mudryk is young and Rogers. I think it's going to be very very difficult to certify all those wingers. Now it's just a thing of how can we play all those wingers at the very same time. And then in the second half, obviously, going 46 minutes and around the 66th minute, we'll end up bringing on players like of Mamadou Sarr, Nicholas Jackson, Estavao, Pendes. Nice to see him as a goalkeeper, to see what he's like, what type of goalkeeper we have, and what type of goalkeeper we are looking to keep for the future. We also end up seeing Delap come on, Alsamino as well, Champong, Datsun as well. So a lot of rotation in the team. I think with Jackson, for example, I think Jackson his touch is very poor. He doesn't have a first touch, and I think he panics as well. I think in this game definitely he was panicking. There was times where he needed to make a decision, and he just made a decision and ended up blaming the players around him for not receiving the pass. It's not fair for Jackson just to blame it on the players around him and not actually take some accountability for his actions. If we look at around the 68th minute with the goal, it was a very good goal. Them coming in as a counter attack, they end up getting on the wing, then they're playing into the midfield, a one-touch football from their midfield to Jarova, and then Jarova ends up taking a first-time shot into that left-hand corner and making it 1-0 for Juventus. A very good goal. I was quite surprised that we never tried to probably bring on the likes of Estavao in the second half into the midfield, into a cam position. I think that's where we really lacked a midfielder, and actually to try and help us be more creative. It definitely looked like we ran out of options. We didn't know exactly how to fully suit the team where we actually had the likes of João Pedro, Danny Welbeck, Jackson, and Liam Delap. Also Delap also he wants to be aggressive, and I think he doesn't know when to be aggressive as well. He's a lot more calmer than Jackson. I think that you can give it to him. But also it was good to see Mudryk come on for some minutes. He didn't do much. You could clearly see he does have some pace. He did a decent performance. He didn't do much wrong. So it will be interesting to see how he's played and how we get to see him going into the next couple of games. We know that we have AC Milan next, so it'll be interesting to see how much minutes does he get in that game, and how much time does the other wingers get as well to compete against him. But it's just unfortunate that we have Rogers as well. So not only does Mudryk and Gittins have to worry about each other, they also have to worry about Rogers, and I think it's gonna be very difficult to play them. I think the only thing I can see is probably Gittins or Mudryk coming in the second half for Rogers, or Estavao as well on the wing, depending on how the game's going. Mudryk and Gittins could be seen in the second half coming off the bench and actually using their pace to pass the defenders. If you look at the possession going into the first half, quickly you see we only had four shots, no shots on target. We had 8 touches in the box. Compared to Juventus, they had 6 shots on target, 6 shots at goal, 1 shot at target, and 10 touches in our box. So very quiet. I think obviously going into the game is very quiet, and especially with these hydration breaks, it does break down the momentum of the game, and I think it does slow the game down until it has to climax again. What was the potential of the game looking like had these hydration breaks not been used? But we do understand this is a preseason. It's not necessarily about all the stats. It's also about the fitness and whatever from the players. We know that Palestra, for example, was a bit tired. He did put in a shift. He did try. What type of player does he develop into going into next season, and how long does he actually climatize himself to the Premier League? If you look at the second half, we brought on, you could say, younger players, a bit more less experience. We know Yusugo came on for Caicedo. We know that Alcimino came on for Joao Hetzo. All these types of players. So definitely the levels did go down, but it definitely looked like, according to stats, we definitely looked like we played a bit better. We definitely looked like we played a better game in the second half. Shots on target, we had 5 shots, but out of those 5 shots, we had 4 shots on target. Whereas Juventus, they had 3 shots, but only 1 shot on target. In the second half, we also had 14 touches in the opposition box, and then it was 12 more touches than Juventus did in the second half as well. So obviously, Floyd Kelly had the man of the match. Not much from either team to actually outrank the other team in terms of goals and a performance. Now we can only look against AC Milan and see what have we learned for Juventus and what have we done in preparation for this next game. Yeah, obviously I didn't think it was going to be so one-sided. I didn't think that we would actually. I was actually hoping for a clean sheet, but clearly we didn't get that in the end. We ended up conceding and ended up losing the game. Obviously, it's not all about the winning of the games, but it definitely affects you going into next season if we don't start getting some momentum and actually some wins to up the confidence and up the spirit of the team as well. But hopefully the team is able to be more conscious and actually say, okay, no, we've got a lot of work to do, and hopefully they're able to individually prepare for this next season to be more conscious of your weaknesses individually. And I think that's where it could help the team to actually be more ready for next season. With us losing some games, I mean, we don't want to lose all the games, but a game here and there to actually be more, okay, what could have done better in this game that we have lost. I think it helps the team to actually self-reflect compared to actually winning. When you're winning games, you don't really think of what you could have done better in a game compared to losing. So yeah, this is my post review to Juventus 1 Chelsea 0. Stay tuned to the preview to AC Milan against Chelsea. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video. Peace.